The workshop that is being held now is part of a long-standing arrangement in the region, particularly in the agriculture sector, in that there's need for putting in place a framework that supports the governments of the SADC countries in how to improve agriculture. As you may know, agriculture is the backbone of most of our economies, and therefore its importance cannot be understated. But in order for us to cohesively move forward, allow for economic growth in the region, in the countries first, and in the region obviously as a grouping, it's important therefore for the region to have a framework that they can work to. And heads of government of the SADC region met as far back as 2004 in Dar es Salaam and required or declared or mandated the region to develop a framework around which member states would operate. Now, that gave the impetus for the development of what we now have as the SADC Regional Agricultural Policy. Now, the Regional Agricultural Policy, what it does is it gives guidance to member states. So it doesn't mandate them per se or obligate them per se, but it gives them guidance on good agricultural practices from a regulatory framework point of view. Now, the Regional Agricultural Policy was put in place in 2014, approved by SADC Council. And the way of implementing the SADC Regional Agricultural Policy is through instruments. And the main instrument that was decided on is what is referred to now as the Regional Agricultural Investment Plan. So it's a 5-year revolving investment plan that looks at priority programs that need to be undertaken in a 5-year period, and then you come back and you review that process. So what we're doing at this conference is now looking back at the first 5-year RAIP, 2017 to 2022, to see what progress was made, what achievements were made, what challenges there were, and then based on that, and taking into account emerging issues that have arisen, climate change, the need to look at the agri-food systems as a whole, and so on and so forth. We now need to re-look and say, how do we move on in the next 5 years? The priority areas that have been developed as a draft are now being validated. And what that means is countries, member states, SADC member countries who are participating, and I think all of them are here, they are now looking critically at these priority areas to say, how do they, are they adequate? Are they not adequate? Are they addressing the issues that affect them at the country level and at the regional level as well? So we will now have input to strengthen, make this framework a bit more robust than it is, a bit more comprehensive. Then going forward, it will then be eventually presented to ministers who, once they endorse it, it becomes again our framework for the next 5 years, or at least up to 2030, guiding what member countries need to do in terms of good agricultural practices. The Regional Agriculture Investment Plan, it's a very relevant tool in many ways. Some of the critical areas is that are as follows. The first one is that the Regional Agriculture Investment Plan links the region to the global environment. As you well know, there's so many initiatives that are taking place at the global level on climate change, on supporting productivity, and so on. The whole issue of food and nutrition security is essential. Now, what this says to the global world is that these are the critical areas that this region needs to look into. So your support in these areas is critical for us. There will be other areas, obviously, but at least these are the critical areas. So from a point of view of linking into global initiatives, the Regional Agriculture Investment Plan provides us with that linkage. At the continental level, it's also the same thing. Member states on the African continent have come together through what is called the CAADP, the Comprehensive Africa Agriculture Development Program. And this is a program that, again, also at the continental level is supporting or providing a framework for agriculture. Now, the RAIP links in into and implements the continental framework, but at the regional level. So there's that importance. And to a very large degree, when it comes also to resources, we can now link into resources at the continental level to support our member countries developing those areas. At the national level, as I said earlier with the RAIP, the regional agricultural policy links into specific instruments also that are used at the national level. Those are called National Agriculture Investment Plans, or NAIPs. So the RAIP at the regional level links with the NAIPs at the national level. And again, we're trying to provide guidance, linkages, and resources. SADC as an institution may have access to maybe larger resources than an individual country. So bringing those resources together helps with supporting member states. Then there are also issues that are cross-cutting. You could have 2, 3, 4 countries when you talk about crop diseases, livestock diseases, and so on. Those diseases and pests don't have boundaries. They don't have borders. They go across borders. So the whole idea of the RAIP is to ensure that regional issues are dealt with more effectively from a regional perspective. And now we're moving away simply from the agriculture sector to the agri-food system sector. So we're putting emphasis now on manufacturers of equipment, for instance, in agriculture, inputs, whether it's seeds or fertilizer. We're now saying that they need to be part and parcel of this framework. So they become beneficiaries, even if they're small businessmen or industry. We're saying, hey, you've always been supporting us, but I don't think we have taken cognizance of your presence from a regional perspective. We now need to do so. So they are also become a major beneficiary. The regional agricultural policy, again, as a framework that supports agriculture in the region, allowed for a platform from which discussions could take place. The second objective of the regional agricultural policy, second or third, is exactly about international market access, regionally and internationally. So that gave a platform on which to discuss how we move forward, how it is that we can reduce trade barriers among our member states. This links to other protocols of SADC, for instance, the protocol on trade in SADC, and it has specific annexes that talk to the reduction of tariffs, the reduction of non-tariff barriers, and what is mostly affected are agricultural products. So we have a layer of platforms on which we then were able to discuss and improve on the relations between avocados coming from Tanzania to South Africa, South African grapes or wines and so on, going to other areas and so on, Namibia. There are many of these activities that fall onto this platform. And so what I can say is that it provides a platform on which member states can come together and start resolving any issues. My involvement in this process goes a long way back. First of all, I worked for the SADC Secretariat for approximately 10 years, and my specific role was to develop the regional agricultural policy. So I'm the person behind the regional agricultural policy in its development. And secondly, the development of the Regional Agriculture Investment Plan. I was involved in that. So my company, which is Dr Muchero Management Consultancy, established back in 2009 in Botswana, is the means through which I've provided this service to SADC, as well as I provide services to various other institutions in the agriculture field, but also beyond the agriculture field, where we provide services in terms of project evaluations. We provide services in relation to training, capacity building training in the SADC region, although mainly geared at the moment towards SADC regional integration and project management. Those are some of the areas that we cover.